Hey everybody, happy Memorial Day and welcome back to another Max Velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we'll be breaking down a new storm that'll be impacting the United States later this week, increasing the threat for severe weather. We'll also be discussing a massive heat wave that'll bring a relentless drought to part of the United States. I'll give you the latest breakdown on everything that you need to know in this forecast, but let's first begin with what's happening across the United States today. We'll first begin with the East Coast. This is an area that we had a non-tropical low make landfall a couple of days ago and had a very impressive spin, by the way. It looked like a tropical storm on radar. The problem was there just was not a whole lot of convection, so we didn't really actually get a tropical storm, but it brought fairly similar impacts to areas along the East Coast. You'll notice that back over here in the Carolinas, there is a very broadening out low pressure system that is still bringing some showers and storms today, but overall this thing will start to kind of move off to the east, and not just that, warmer temperatures will start to fill in again for those back over in the mid-Atlantic region, because some areas, by the way, had high temperatures in the 50s a couple days ago. It's been very cold over there. For those in the central United States, we have a fairly large ridge still in place. This will keep areas dry for the most part. We'll still see some severe weather, and that will actually increase more as we go throughout the week, but for right now, it's going to be a bit more of a drier pattern. And then our next system is back over here near San Francisco, just off the coast of California. Low pressure system just west of there. This is starting to strengthen a little bit. It'll move inland over the next couple of days, and once it takes a path over the Rocky Mountains, we could see an increased threat of severe weather again over the Great Plains. So something to really watch out for as we head into later this week will definitely be that low pressure system. For the rest of Memorial Day, just a little heads up, temperatures will stay in the mid to upper 80s across most of the country. Some showers and storms possible in a lot of areas, including the East Coast and as well as back through the Great Plains. There will at least be some isolated storm activity. Before I show you the next several days, I do want to make a huge announcement. If you didn't already see on my social media pages, we officially have storm chaser Vince Walty with us for severe weather coverages from here on out. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. I am ecstatic to be able to start doing live streams with the storm chaser on the streams from here on out. So again, make sure you subscribe to the channel. All right, let's talk about the next several days in terms of what to expect here across the United States. We'll begin with the next few days. So Monday and Tuesday particularly, there are a couple of areas to watch for specifically. So one back over on the East Coast, that is where that non-tropical low is. And then we also have the low pressure system just sitting off the coast of California. And then we have our ridge that's actually centered in the upper levels back over into the Midwest, which is keeping areas over there fairly dry right now. That's allowing for a very strong pull out of the Gulf of Mexico with moisture. That is why we're seeing storm activity, by the way, across the Great Plains. It's because of that strong southerly pull from that high pressure system. And then once we head into Tuesday and Wednesday, that is when things become very interesting in the United States. Possibly the most interesting that we've seen in a while, because we just have not had much of a jet stream in the United States. It's been lifted so far off to the north. We haven't had any trough ejections, which basically means we haven't had any low pressure systems that are bringing significant severe weather to the United States. This could be our next shot. So you'll notice going into Wednesday, we'll have a low pressure system again sitting in the southwest United States, a bit of a westerly, almost southwesterly flow in the southwest United States. And with this, we have a negatively tilted trough. So if we get strong enough upper level winds and get some low level jet going, we actually could see an increased threat of severe weather across portions of the Great Plains. And that could actually bring some significant severe weather later this week. So it will be something to watch for. But you'll notice going into late Thursday, that trough really kind of spins out. It weakens again. We don't really have any strong upper level winds near that low pressure system, but you'll notice the next trough ejection back down just southwest of that, that could also bring some significant severe weather. But the big question right now is, will either of these actually bring significant severe weather? Because they do fizzle out very quickly. These are not long tracked low pressure systems. And you'll notice on Saturday, here's your massive ridge. The jet stream is lifted way up here to the north. And then also we don't really have any low pressure systems, a very, very weak one at best in the southwest United States. So really the uncertainty is still there for any significant severe weather right now. Personally, I'm not forecasting any significant severe weather in the near future, but this could be our next shot. It just depends on if everything comes together. We could end up seeing some significant severe weather in parts of the United States. You're probably wondering, where specifically could we see that increased threat of severe weather this week in the United States? So once we go into Tuesday into Wednesday, this is the future radar. So we'll go first into Wednesday. That is when we're going to be watching for some shower and storm activity across the Great Plains, specifically in the Central Plains, back into Kansas, Nebraska, and South Dakota. This is where I do have more confidence that there could be some significant severe weather. However, I do not foresee a full-blown outbreak at this current time. I don't see the ingredients in place right now for Wednesday. But once we go into Thursday, we have another shot of that. You'll notice another area of storms, potentially during the morning hours. That could also bring some damaging wind concerns. But once we go into the afternoon and evening hours, that is when storm activity increases there in the central Central Plains. So really the 2 days to watch for closest for would be Wednesday night and Thursday night. We'll have to watch those 2 days very closely. Once we go into Friday, showers and storms still possible there in the Great Plains. And then once we go into Saturday, we might get another organized setup back down in the southern and central plains. This would be mainly damaging winds most likely with the setup that we have forecasted for right now. Then once we go into late Saturday and as well as into Sunday, showers and storms still continue, and then uncertainty grows from there. And one thing I do want to point out is that the Midwest really will not be seeing hardly any rain over the next 6 to 10 days, potentially longer than that. And you might be wondering why. Well, we have a massive ridge back over in the Midwest. This is the dew points over the next 7 to 10 days. You'll notice that strong southwesterly pull that's going to be coming from that high pressure system that is back over into the Midwest and as well as southern Canada. But overall, this strong southerly pull will bring moisture up to Canada, but it's not going to go into the Midwest because of that high pressure system that's in place. And you'll notice that going over the next 6 to 10 days, there's really not a whole lot of moisture over there. The dew points are below 55 for the most part. You'll notice here all the greens, basically the dark greens are 55 and less in this area. So we're really not seeing any moisture back over in the Midwest. And once we go into next week, there probably will not be much of anything. Another ridge will likely dominate going into next week as well. This could really increase the drought concerns. And this kind of reminds me a little bit of 1997. If you look back on history, we had a fairly massive drought in the Midwest. This is getting some vibes of that right now. You'll notice here over the last 7 days, this is the precipitation that's been observed. There's hardly been anything. And then this is the forecasted 7-day rain amounts. Really not much, unless you're back over in the western Midwest. There's really no rainfall being forecasted. If anything, it's very minimalistic amounts. So really right now, there's a lot of concern at this point of a potential drought in the Midwest. We'll have to watch this very closely. And obviously the temperatures are another concern. The heat wave's going nowhere. You'll notice over the next 6 to 10 days from the Climate Prediction Center for the first week of June, above average temperatures are expected there. And then once we go into the second week of June, there might be some relief there. Right now, it's kind of a 50-50 chance of either being above or below average for temperatures. So I'll have to watch that fairly closely. Now, a quick breakdown on the severe weather for today. There is currently a slight risk of severe weather back up in Nebraska. Another marginal risk that extends into the northern plains. There will be some showers and storms this afternoon. Most of these will just be damaging wind and hail producers. There might be a brief tornado somewhere in Nebraska, but overall, the threat of severe weather does remain low for today. For tomorrow, things get a little bit less interesting in terms of severe weather, but there is a couple different risks to watch out for. One will be in Minnesota, and then another one back over in the western central plains, and this will primarily be for damaging winds, hail, and a potential tornado threat. And then going into Wednesday, again, this is when things might get more interesting. I know there's only a marginal threat right now, but this might expand. We'll have to wait and see. For right now, though, that's going to be, again, for those central plain areas from Nebraska back through the Texas Panhandle. And guess what? There's one more huge announcement before this video ends. There will be a Max Velocity store coming out either later this week or next week. Leave your feedback on this specific line of products down in the comments below.